Hey, Lounge fans. Before this episode begins, we want to thank our corporate partners, EY and Protiviti, for helping to make this podcast possible. Stay tuned to the Lounge and BHSA for some exciting opportunities with all our fantastic corporate partners. Now, on to the show.
Welcome to the Lounge.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Lounge at BHSA podcast. I'm Nate Latimer, joined as always by my co-host Mohak Desai. Mohak, good evening to you. How are you?
Hi Nate, good evening. How's it going?
Good. Everything's good here in North Philly. By the time our lovely listeners will hear this, everyone will be back and ready in their online and or hybrid classes at Temple University.
Oh yeah, class started.
Very exciting. It's a very exciting time of year, and even though it's definitely different than semesters before, I think it's still going to be a really awesome semester for all things BHSA, all things Fox Honors.
Yeah, exactly. I'm actually looking forward to the semester. I want to see how we adapt, how we overcome, and all the creative new things that we're going to be doing for the semester. So all you members out there, stay tuned. This is going to be an interesting semester. I would definitely, spend some time into looking into what we're going to offer.
Most definitely. I think we'll start off on a good note with this episode. We're bringing in Brett and Simon. So Brett and Simon are both junior actuarial science majors and MIS minors. They're really active members of the Fox Honors community. They both have, plenty of experience with PhD and Fox Honors, and now they are killing it in the actuarial game.
Oh yeah.
And we brought it on to let us, sort of tell the members about what actuarial science is all about and how they can continue in their success and become great actuaries themselves.
Two sharp kids.
Most definitely.
A lot of good insights.
That said, let's get into the episode.
All right,
everybody, we are back and joined by Simon and Brett. Simon and Brett, thank you guys so much for coming on the show today. Really excited to talk to you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So I think a good place to start would just be for both of you guys to stick with a quick summary of your background, how you got involved in actuarial science at Temple, and what that has led you to now.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brett Ackerman. I'll be a junior at Temple, obviously, actuarial science major, management information systems minor. I got into actuarial science because I'd always had an interest in stat, and I knew I really didn't want to go to grad school. So I kind of just figured out what I could do with that, and it really just came down to actuarial science. I was very pleasantly surprised by it once I got here. I joined Gamma Iota Sigma, where I'm the director of community affairs, which is where we work with our charity of choice and our volunteering initiatives. And this summer I interned at Aetna. Would have been in Bluebell, but it was virtual, obviously. And that would have been, that's a health company. And maybe I'll go back there, but I don't really know.
Everyone, my name's Simon Llaguno. I'm also going to be a junior at Temple, majoring in actuarial science. Fun fact, me and Brett were roommates and we're still good friends now. I came to Temple. I knew I was going to do actuarial science, but I kind of just did it just because I knew I was good at math. But I also joined Gamma Iota Sigma, and I was surprised by how qualitative the major is. You really have to know how to communicate and network with people, and that's something I really enjoyed about the major and about Gamma. So I stuck with it, and I'm really glad I did. I also picked up an MIS minor, which I think was really valuable. Got to learn a lot of different languages, and I applied it in my internship this summer as well. I worked at Everest Insurance as a part of the actuarial pricing department, so learned a lot there as well. I'm really excited to be here today. So thanks for the invite, Nate and Mohak.
So you guys both mentioned that initial interest in math that kind of brought you towards the actuarial space. But I'm wondering, beyond that interest in math, kind of, diving deep into the actuarial science major, I think there's a lot of confusion, especially from the outside. People only kind of see that math aspect. And like you said, Simon, there's so much more to it on the qualitative sense as well. So I'm wondering if you both could describe actuarial science in as little words as possible. How would you describe it?
I mean, I would say it's using mathematical techniques to mitigate risk. If you know about like the risk management major, it's kind of like the technical side of that, I would say.
Yeah, going off of that, it's kind of using a lot of the mathematical and statistical analysis to be able to mitigate that risk. So specifically in insurance companies, you're working with them to try to there's different tracks within the actuarial profession. So in the traditional insurance role, it's broken down into departments like pricing and reserving. So a pricing actuary will use all those mathematical analyses to come up with a proper price that'll help the insurance company get a good amount of premiums and profits, but also ensure that they're providing fair prices to the customers. And for reserves, it helps the company ensure that they have enough money to be able to pay out for the claims. So basically using a lot of the math and being able to communicate those numbers to in layman's terms. So in actuarial science, you learn a lot of those crazy technical terms, and it's easy for you to communicate with other actuaries. But a major skill you need to have is to be able to say it in English to another broker or another employee within the company.
Yeah, adding on to that, like I feel like the misconception of it being like a very math-heavy profession, like we take a series of exams and our courses at Temple are very math-heavy, but really what you are is more of a problem solver. So like in my internship, I hardly did any math functions harder than like addition or subtraction. It was really just being able to evaluate numbers I saw and communicate it, as Simon said, in layman's terms, to someone who may not be so keen to the numbers.
Gotcha. So being able to bridge that gap, sort of be that area of translation between this hard data in terms of the insurance numbers and actually what a company can do to mitigate that risk related to anything they're trying to insure.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%. Just because a computer could do a lot of like the mathematical work that we learn on the exams, but it couldn't make decisions based off that math.
Right.
Awesome.
And that's where the analytical side comes in.
Yeah, and for sure. And I think there's more also non-traditional actuarial roles coming up. So one thing you see is a lot of data analytics that are coming up. A lot of actuaries are getting involved in that. I know Brett sent in a group chat. There was a post by Elon Musk. He's looking for a revolutionary actuary for Tesla.
I saw that. Very cool.
So with that in mind, how does your AcSci coursework differ from what people might see in other areas of study in the business school or your guys' other general education in terms of what you've taken in finance and accounting?
Yeah, I could start off. Well, I think the Fox School does a really good job of putting together those core classes that teaches you a lot about everything on the business side, and, understanding the accounting. The risk management course is really, really informative, just getting you familiar with just how insurance works. A lot of actuaries, especially freshmen when you first come in. Me personally, I didn't even know what actuarial science was when I came in. I just knew it was something that people recommended to me. Knew it had to do something with insurance, but I had no idea how insurance works. So that intro to risk management course taught me a lot about the basics of insurance, like what a premium is, what a deductible is. But those actuarial courses really go into depth, and they guide you along your exam path. So that's something that's really unique to Temple. I know a lot of other schools they offer a math a math major, and you kind of have to self-study. But these classes really guide you, and they're directly related to the exam processes. So saves you a lot of time. You have the teacher to go to during office hours if you have questions, and so each class is basically linked to an exam, whether it be one class or two classes, and helps you accelerate your exam process through that.
Yeah, so one great thing about Temple is the SOA and the CIS. I don't know who does it, but they create this list, and it's called the Centers of Actuarial Excellence. There might be like a dozen to 20 of them, and Temple is one of them, meaning it puts out really good students. It graduates a lot of actuaries every year, but most importantly, it prepares you for more exams than most other actuarial programs. So I would say we have the coursework to prepare you for 6 of the 7 preliminary exams. Definitely 5, 6 a little loosely. And it's really our coursework is just to make our exam process easier. We're not really learning how to be an actuary, and that's where Gamma Iota Sigma comes in, where, as Simon said, you learn some more of the soft skills. You get to hear about the different types of insurance because you have life, you have health, pensions, property casualty. That's why it's really important to not just do your coursework as an actuary here, because you're not going to get very far with that. It's really important to attend the Gamma Iota Sigma speaker series and Monday and Wednesday meetings and stuff.
Yeah, and another benefit of having these actuarial classes and even these finance accounting classes is that through Temple you can get so in your actuarial profession, you need to get those exams, those credentials, but you also need to get something called a validation by educational experience. So without those courses, you'd have to kind of apply on your own and take online courses. But through Temple, you can take these courses and get this credit in your curriculum. So that's something that's very beneficial as well.
So obviously from what you guys have described, AXI is a pretty hot job. It's an in-demand job too. But what got you guys interested in actuarial science? Was it a slow buildup, or did you guys have like an aha moment?
For me, understanding what it was, I knew that the characteristics of the job were what I wanted to be involved in. And as I got more involved in classes, got more involved with Gamma Iota Sigma, I realized like this is something that I want to do.
Yeah, adding on to that, like I said, like statistics was my favorite course in high school, and I had talked to my teacher, and he had basically said, one thing I could really see you doing is actuarial science. So I had never heard of that, and I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. That could be very unique. So I looked it up, and there was a lot of things that stood out about the profession. I think that year it was like #1 best job in America, which like definitely helped. But one thing I really like about it is the self-driven, like you can get as much out of the career as you put into it. If you take your exams really early, you can be a fellow at 25 making $200,000. And if that's not really what's for you, you can still have a very fulfilling career taking your time, doing your exams slowly, and you don't even have to finish them really. So I definitely think it was that. And then as Simon said, the work-life balance is incredible. Like you're very rarely working over 40 hours a week at a carrier. Consultant, I can't really speak to, but definitely just a very good situation.
Nice.
Going
So
on
you sort of hinted, Brett, a little bit of these career options. You mentioned a couple of terms like fellow. I'm wondering if you guys could just take us through the general career path of an actuary. So what does it look like after an actuary graduates from Temple? You know, what are the couple of general career options that they usually pursue?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I could just start off with the exam process. So within the actuarial profession, there's 2 different tracks as far as the exam process. One is the SOA, which is the Society of Actuaries. And this is more oriented to people that are interested in life insurance, health insurance, that side of the insurance realm. And the other side is the CAS side, which is the Casualty Actuarial Society. And that's dealing with more property and casualty, reinsurance. So the first 3 exams are applicable to both paths. And then after that, you specialize more into those specific paths. And as Brett kind of touched on, there's general insurance actuaries where you work with a carrier and you help them with the pricing, the reserving, forecasting claims. And then there's also consultants where you can kind of be more advisory and have more of that person-to-person connection.
Adding on to that, so when you're in the property casualty, the CAS, you get your CAS, FCAS it's called, which means you're a fellow when you pass all of your exams. I believe there's 9 or 10. You get your associateship at 7. Having the associateship allows you to write off on government documents. Now, what's interesting about the SOA is once you achieve your associateship, you go down several different paths. So you can do general insurance, you can do group health, there's life contingencies, I believe, and financial derivatives, which is like a very new one. And that's kind of, it's not like a quant, I guess, but it's the closest thing to it without a PhD. So that's really cool. And one thing that I think is important to note is that you're not signing up even by getting your fellowship to be an actuary forever. A lot of the companies really value the actuaries because they know how hard you have to work to achieve your FCAS or FSA. So you often see actuaries going into these leadership roles, whether it be the CFO or the head actuary, head underwriter, et cetera.
Great. So, you know, it's great to see that you guys are already super knowledgeable about the industry and well into your way in terms of you have some tests under your belt and are already pursuing and active in the internship space. So I'm wondering, what do you think are the main traits that helped you guys be so successful, both in studying and passing your coursework and getting some exams under your belt, but also scoring these great internships that you guys have had this summer?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I could say it first. It was definitely surrounding myself with like-minded people. So Brett and I, we were in close contact. Nishant is my roommate. He's also an actuarial science majors. We have a great network of people that are really self-motivated and supportive. I never felt like I was competing with anyone. I always felt like I was pushing myself, and I've always had a circle of people that was pushing me as well. So, Brett and I, we both communicated and encouraged each other when we had our doubts, and we both passed our third exam this summer. So that's something I'm really proud of. Yeah, that was the main thing. Really, just having those friends, and also having great mentors in the actuarial science department. Having professors that I can just reach out and email without feeling intimidated, and getting their honest advice. That was a major thing for me.
Yeah, adding on to that, I think the biggest thing, like Simon said, was having that network of people, both actuarial science majors, actuaries who are already in the field, or non-actuaries. Because it's not like you're competing with each other, like, oh, I want to pass exams before them, but really having your friend there to discuss difficult topics or ask for their opinion, it really makes the process a lot easier. On top of that, I think having friends who understand, you have to be really committed to this field, because these exams, they recommend 100 hours per exam hour, and the exams are like 3 to 4 hours. I don't know if either of us necessarily did that, but the people you surround yourself with have to understand your priorities somewhat lay into the career path. And you're not going out all days during the weekend when you're taking these exams. I mean, some people can, but I'm not smart enough to study that quickly. And then on top of that, I just think it's the obvious incentives. Like, your starting salary goes up several $1,000s for each exam pass. So it's like, like, should I sit around and play video games for a couple hours a day, or should I earn myself like $3,000 per year? And it's like, well, that's an easy choice.
Yeah, most definitely. That's one of the more, I guess, actually quantitatively heavy results of like putting in the work in class. I think that's one of the big benefits of being an actuary is with this exam process, and the way it goes is the work you put in is directly equal to the result you get out. And I think that goes for a lot of business majors, but definitely in the actuarial community at Fox, I think that is kind of what has driven your guys' culture to be one of just being successful and kind of leading the field in what you guys do.
I just wanted to segue into, you guys talk about community and the people that you surround yourselves with. Do you guys have any advice for, freshmen or any other Fox Honors students that come in and want to get more involved with the ACSI community? How can they surround themselves with like-minded people like you guys?
This is easy. So actuarial science majors, especially the upperclassmen, love to talk about exams. Some more than others, but like people love to humble brag about this kind of thing. And they all think that their way of studying is the best. Like, I think my way of studying is the best. I'm sure Simon thinks his. So you can easily find a dozen people who can give you advice per exam. I know we have a mentorship program just like BHSA does. And I have a mentee and like an informal mentee who I help out. And it's really just, everyone here is so nice for the most part. It's really just hearing everyone's strategy and then figuring out what works for you. Because I know for me, I can't work in the morning, but some people do really well putting in 3 hours before classes studying. I know I like to do practice exams really early. Some people like to know the content 100% before they start. So it's really that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was the biggest thing for me. I came into college without really knowing anyone here. So the biggest challenge was just going out and not being afraid to just say hi and shake someone's hand. I think that's big in not just in the actuarial science profession, but any major. Just being comfortable with just putting your hand out there. And I think especially for this class, it's going to be a challenge, especially because we're not going to have that much of an in-person connection. But if you have those networking events that are online or any of these events, put yourself out there, because it can only help you. So I know Gamma had those networking events, and you might think that it's just a waste of time or whatever, but it really helps you not only develop your skills, but make those connections that really help you in the future. Because you never know, you might find one of those people in your class, and it turns out that they're one of the best performing students in the class, and you become close friends with them, and they're your study buddy. So
And the rest is history, huh?
Yeah.
Just like that. Yeah, I mean, you guys have the added benefit of just, such a strong friendship. And I think that was established even before the actuarial science business really became, such a big part of your life. So it's right here in the Fox Honors program. I mean, to say that the Fox Honors program has such a strong community, I think goes without saying, but within that community, the actuarial students within Fox Honors have such a tight knit bond. I mean, I can think of all you guys. I mean, you two, Nish, Shelby, everybody studying. They all are kind of in this struggle together. And it's such a cool thing to see you guys now that we're getting a little older in our careers, to see you succeeding and coming out on top and conquering these tests that you might have been so afraid of before. So it's just awesome to see.
Yeah, definitely same for you guys. One thing I want to add, I know Dr. Voss was on here maybe a week or two ago, and her class taught me an invaluable lesson of reaching out to industry professionals. I know we had to do the informational interview, and I did mine with a guy. His name was Peter Riley. He was like the CFO of some division at Aetna, which is where I ended up working this summer. And getting your foot in the door, meeting people there, learning about everyone's opinion is valid, even if it doesn't match up with yours. So as I keep saying, getting as many opinions as possible helps you make the most informed decisions career-wise. And like for me, that helped me decide, okay, maybe I'm really interested in health insurance, or maybe I'm not very interested in life insurance. So definitely talking to the people in the industry helps.
Awesome. Yeah, most definitely. And if we can, I think it's a great time to actually take some questions from some of our Instagram followers. So if you are interested in learning more about the Lounge, BHSA, actuarial science, anything, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram at thelounge.podcast. Our social media associate, Lauren, has been doing an awesome job engaging with their members and getting some good opportunities out there to get involved in the podcast. So the first question we have for you guys is, have you decided on CAS versus SOA? And if so, what influenced your decision there?
Yeah, that's actually the biggest question right now, because after I pass this third exam, this is kind of where I have to decide which path I have to take. And I'm doing a lot of my research now, actually. That's a great question. Something like I said, I've been asking every day. I'm doing research online, asking a lot of my mentors. But my plan so far was that this past summer, I've had an internship on the P&C side. So next summer, I'm most likely going to commit to an internship on the health side. So just to try the different things. So I think the number one thing is if you can get that first internship early and kind of weigh the benefits and the cons, or based on your strengths and weaknesses, and experience it firsthand. That's how you can decide. If not, just like what I've been doing, just reaching out to people. I've heard different things about each side. I think the SOA side I heard is if you want to get more involved in the health side, you're dealing a lot with regulations and new policies. So if that's something that excites you, that's definitely something you can factor in. I know a lot of people that I really want to focus on the math part, and pricing tools and all that. It's more PNC and the CAS side, but I don't think there's a right decision. It's really based on your personality, maybe where you get that first internship, your experience.
Yeah, I mean, like Simon, I'm at the same spot where I have to make a decision, and it's kind of scary. I interned at a health insurer last summer, or this summer, and it's really easy to figure out what you don't want to do, but once you can't narrow that down anymore, it's hard to decide what you want to do. So for me, I really like the stat, and I really like a dynamic work environment. So to me, life insurance really lacked both of those as well as pensions, but that's not for everyone. Whereas property casualty is the most stat heavy of the tracks you can go down. And I think health might be the most dynamic, as we know the laws are always changing. And some people fear that means the end of the actuary in health insurance. But I really just think that leads to a changing role that I think is really cool going forward. And speaking with some people at Aetna and hearing what they think is going to happen and how they're transitioning, if we go to a more either a single payer or some kind of public and private health insurer, I think it's going to be really interesting, and I'd like to help make that change work for everybody. But I don't know.
100%. No, those are also very useful answers for freshmen and sophomores, or whoever's trying to get a good gauge of where they want to take their paths too. And so the second question was also related to that, and it was, how many exams should we compete before graduation to be considered competitive?
Yeah, I think on average at most universities, you're going to pass around 2 to 3 exams by graduation. But it's really dependent on how self-driven you are. Some people switch into the actuarial science major later, so I don't think there's a right answer. But within your own personal goals, if you want to get maybe 4 or 5 down before graduation, that's doable if you really just allocate your time. But I think the biggest time is just setting your own timeline and time management as well.
Yeah. I mean, every year the entry-level job market for actuaries gets tighter and tighter. So I think you're starting to see people taking 3 to 4 to even 5 exams. With 2 exams, you'll get a job. But with more than that, you really have more selection to where you get to work. And one thing I'd like to say that like doesn't seem obvious really, but your exams are much more important than your GPA. Your internships are also probably more important than your GPA. So I think all of us are very hardworking and motivated. So I don't think any of us have had a problem with that. But if I was ever going to have to make a choice, I think you're better off passing 3 exams with a 3.5 than 2 exams with a 4.0. But that's just my opinion.
There's the trade-offs you got to consider. And I think, with the job market being so competitive, something we stress in this podcast as well is the exams will take you places and those grades and those internships, but really, what helps you get there in the first place is that ability to network, the ability to build up that relationship with professionals. It's so huge. And, when you combine all those holistic aspects, I think that is really where you get the top actuarial students. And that's, a credit to your guys' success that you're not only, really accomplished in the classroom and really accomplished in your internships, but great people to speak to and overall just, a very hireable, professional.
That's definitely not one thing. That's one thing you can't take for granted. I mean, most juniors will have an internship, but sophomores it's more 50-50. And I think what you noticed at the career fair was it wasn't the smart. I mean, it was a lot of the smarter people, but the people who got interviews as sophomores were the ones who had really good interview skills, who knew how to communicate with people, and really just had a smile on their face. So being sociable is just as important as the resume, in my opinion.
It's not just the math. It's not just the math, right? So with that said, I think this is a great place to wrap up this interview. But before you go, it's a tradition here at the lounge to end on a fun question, but a serious one. So if you guys are ready, I think it's time for the final question.
Let's do it.
Simon, Brett, we've had our fun and games, but it's over now. It's serious. The question is, if you guys were stranded on a deserted island and could only take one other member of the Fox Honors community, be that a student or a faculty member, who would you take and why?
I'd take Nish, just because I'd be able to beat him every day in 2K and enjoy my stay there. Honestly, that's who I'd bring.
That's a smart pick.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of things you have to consider for this question that maybe I shouldn't talk about. But I will say I would probably take – I don't know. Like, my roommate Kevin would be cool because I could beat him in a fight. Like, Deshaun's really tall. So, like, if I wanted to, like, I don't know, pick a coconut off a tree, like – so –
You can have him take the coconut, and then I'll beat him in the video.
There you go.
So I think, honestly, maybe Lori, honestly. She'd probably, like, keep us alive. She knows what she's doing. She's probably been.
Lori's a popular pick. I think she's got the organizational skills, and she's, you would never feel in danger when you're on a desert island with Lori. I think she's the kind of a person that would just, even in the most dire of circumstances, she keeps you safe and she keeps you warm. That's necessary.
Yeah, that'll probably be my choice then.
All right, guys. With that said, thank you so much for coming to the lounge. We really appreciate the time and hope that all the young actuaries in practice can, take this advice and use it to fuel their careers.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to The Lounge, a BHSA podcast.